Hey, it's Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio and host of the syndicated talk show, People of Distinction. The talk that gives you an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. Run to our website, alcoleenterprises.com, for more info. Email me through benji@alcoleenterprises.com if you'd like to get involved with what we have going. And as always, please continue to like and follow our broadcasts. People of Distinction is internationally syndicated solely due to the love and support that you all continue to give. We're available across all major distributors, and as long as you keep following, we're going to continue to put out the content. Now sit back and strap in, because on the line with us today, we have the impressive Kevin E. Allison. And we're going to be discussing Kevin's amazing novel, My Life Matters. And people, let me tell you, man, this is a book you need to add to your shelf. Check it out, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, a whole host of other places. You're going to want to check out his personal sites. There's Kevin E. Allison Books, mylifematters.com, as well as kevineallisonbooks.com, both of which are going to be filled with information on him, on his books, hyperlinks set up to take you to the purchasing pages. People, I'm telling you, they truly are one-stop shops for everything that he has in store. Head on over there today. While you're at it, make sure you look into everything else that Kevin has done, because trust me when I tell you, Kevin has done some things, okay? He has a number of other books. Another one is called Gladiator Bots, the graphic novel. Now, this is a trilogy. So book 2 and 3 are still in creation. Book 2, Gladiator Bots, Twice a Child, and the third one still waiting on the finalized title, but those are books you're going to want to get your hands on. And then for my history buffs out there, yeah, he's got a historical fiction that is also one you're not going to be able to put down. That one is called Allensworth. It is absolutely exceptional and truly something you need to add to your shelf. But that's not all, because, Kevin is just an artist through and through. Not only is he a writer, but he's also filmed, written, and produced a movie, and that one is called Love Swag, available on all streaming platforms. Man, this man's resume is impressive. We could not have selected a more perfect embodiment of a person of distinction to be here with us, and you're going to want to gather it all. Today is all about My Life Matters, and we're going to touch up on that in just 1 second. Before I go any further, I want to point out the fact that Kevin was brought to us by one of the best publishing firms in the business. People you already know. I'm talking about Author Reputation Press. So for my writers out there who have gone through their process and now you need some help moving that book you just developed, well, contact ARP, because this is exactly what they specialize in. Head on over to authorreputationpress.com and gather all the ways that their fantastic team is going to help you do just that. And listen, it is a true pleasure to have Kevin here on the line. People, let me ask you something, man. What happens when two men, blinded by their own prejudices, are forced to walk in each other's shoes? And I mean literally, okay? Not just the old catchy phrase where it's like you got to walk a mile in someone else's shoes. What happens when you literally have that happen? You see, because this is what is presented to us in this book, My Life Matters. This is a similar situation to a lot of, the first thing that came up in my mind was, what was that movie from years ago? Was that Freaky Friday, where the daughter and the mother switch places for a day or a few days or something, and they each have to kind of see how the other one is living. And there are, I'm sure, a lot of other examples that we can pull from. Well, here's the thing. This book is similar, but original like no other, because these two characters, when I mention that they're blinded by their own prejudices, I mean it, okay? We're going to follow a bigoted activist and a racist cop as they are, a mysterious hex gets put on them, and then they are forced to live in each other's shoes, experience each other's lives, and make, hopefully, a determination that will change things for the better. Now, we're not going to give everything away. You got to purchase the book and see for yourself, but this is going to unpack some inspirational themes and a bold social commentary under the guise of an unforgettable tale. Trust me when I tell you, My Life Matters is a book you're going to want to add to your shelf, and you got Kevin E. Allison to thank for all of it, man. Before we go, I'm gonna stop, because I'm gonna go on a high horse and start going all down this tangent, and it's not about me here today. So let's bring Kevin here with us. Kevin, first and foremost, welcome to People of Distinction, and thank you very much for being a guest with us. How are you doing today, man?
Oh, man, I'm doing amazing. Benji, that was a great introduction. I have to say, probably the best introduction I've ever had. And I'd like to thank you for that, because now I feel like I'm legitimate now. And, yeah.
Look up. I'll tell you, man.
You legitimized my career, man, with that.
You didn't need the introduction to feel legitimized, man. I'm telling you, honestly, I really do mean it. You have done something special here because you're taking a tale that we are all familiar with. You're taking a notion that we are all familiar with, right? Walking a mile in someone else's shoes. Such an old adage that we've heard thousands of times. This is the first that I've ever encountered where you're taking something that, A, as a black man in this country, is something that is so important to me, to people that I've known growing up, but is also very, very much on the front of pop culture at the moment. And I think that there is a lot to be learned and gained here, man. So thank you for writing the book.
Well, thank you for just acknowledging that part. Yeah, this book, I actually wrote it years ago. I think when what happened in Ferguson kind of inspired me to write it, and then a few other incidents that happened with unarmed black men being shot or killed or what have you. It was something that just inspired me to say, hey, what if I could just get people to bear their pain, but we're able to laugh at it and try to make sense of it at the end. Mm-hmm. And I wrote it, and I even had plans to make a film out of it. So we went out and shot a sizzle reel, which for the individuals who got that website that you gave them, they can go and see the actual sizzle reel and see how the film would actually look. But I put this thing on the shelf for about a year or two, and then I was inspired to release it and pull it out because, you know, in the political landscape, we have this new president who, to me, in my opinion, and I don't want to get too political, has brought out some things in our society that has been festering forever. Yeah. And it's like, it's time to have this discussion.
Absolutely.
I think we're on the wrong path, and we need to get back together with love and laughter and some kind of hope.
Kevin, I have a whole list of questions, man, that I'm going to love jumping into. First and foremost, I know I've given a brief introduction to it, but tell us a little bit more about your book, My Life Matters.
Well, I think you've already touched on some key points about Rosewood. He's the star of it all. He's got some, you know, issues with white folks, and he's an activist. He's fighting a good fight, but it's all going wrong. I mean, he's going about it the wrong way. Mm-hmm. One of the problems he has is he doesn't want anyone white to join him in his protest, which, you know, as a writer, I wanted to show that as a black man, we can have our own hang-ups too, but sometimes those hang-ups can get in the way of progress and solutions. So he is going up against a system that, you know, he feels is this huge machine that's built to destroy us. And on the opposite side, we have Officer Duke, who is the exact kind of racist that, you know, Rosewood is looking to go up against. Yeah. And they're both closed-minded people. And some things happen, you know, some mystical things happen along that path to where they now are role reversed, and they have to see how difficult it is to be a black man, or how difficult it is to be a police officer, and some way find some kind of understanding and in order to reverse the curse, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And there is time constraints. Like if they don't do it in the right amount of time, then they'll be forever in that other person's shoes. So we had a great time writing it and having fun with it and letting people read it and just seeing the reactions of all the readers that I've come in contact with. And I'm excited about getting this book out to the general public, and I hope they enjoy it when they read it.
You know, Kev, I have no doubt that they're going to do just that. You know, something that I find very impressive and really I admire is the fact that you made both of these characters bigoted in their own ways. Because I think it levels the playing field, and it allows us to see things from a fresh and unbiased standpoint, right? Because I think you very easily could have just had this African-American activist not be bigoted or prejudiced in his own ways. And then it would have turned a lot of people off. It would have made the conversation one-sided. And I think it was very specific on your part to make sure that they were both flawed individuals. But I want to go into that a little bit further. Talk to us about what inspired you to create these characters with the flaws that they had. And did you understand that by doing so, you would be making this a little bit more acceptable from a wider audience base?
Yeah, it was very intentional. I felt that it could go either way. I could make it from my perspective, and of course, I would have a nice base audience that would, love it. But then I can also turn off people who may be off-put by the fact that, okay, it doesn't feel balanced, and I'm just not going to pay attention to it. So I wanted to bring in the flaws in both characters to allow, like you said, an even playing ground or field for people to just absorb the message. Oftentimes if we have things that are, offensive, even though there's a good story or a lesson to be learned at the end of it, you never get to the end of it because the person just stops paying attention. So, funny thing happened. I had this sizzle reel. It's based on the book, and again, it's on the website. You'll be able to see it. And the editor for it, a very, very nice white gentleman who father is, I think, a 70-year-old Republican. Anyway, he edited this sizzle reel, put it together, let his father see it. And his father, who's a staunch Republican, was just hooting and hollering, and he's like, hey, I would go see that film. For some reason, this thing is able to touch not only black, white, but all races. And it allows us to laugh at each other, but then at the same time understand that there's a seriousness involved, and we have to address it because if not, it's going to tear our country apart. And it's already tearing our country apart.
That's a statement that we could have a further discussion on, just that in and of itself. I want to switch gears, though, and kind of talk a little bit more about these two characters here, and really the storyline itself, because I know you infuse humor within the book. Now, as someone that I love dark humor, so I'm right there with it, and I think that there is so much when you add comedy into things. It alleviates the pressure, but also allows you to see such monumental topics. When we're talking about race, when we're talking about prejudices, adding humor can make these things a little bit more palatable, right? And make it a little bit more digestible. But talk to us about the role of adding satire into the novel and why you felt it was important to do that.
Well, I mean, I think there are comedians. I think somebody had a tourist that said, laugh at my pain. A comedy, a lot of it is rooted in pain. It's a lot of pain. And you have to learn how to reverse it, or good comedians reverse the pain and they create laughter out of it. But it's really coming from a place of, trauma. One of my favorite, I had a lot of favorite comedians growing up, but, my top five, from Eddie Murphy to Richard Pryor to Dave Chappelle, especially Dave Chappelle. I mean, you hear them, and it's a lot of pain, but some kind of way it metamorphoses into laughter, and then through that laughter, we can see the key elements of what this person is talking about or going through, and we are able to accept it. Now, there's a huge cancel culture right now in America, so a lot of these guys, including Dave, they attempted to cancel Dave like 20 times, but the reality is, in laughter, there's an element of truth and trauma, and if you allow yourself to just be clear on those things, then it could reach and touch something that you probably have been shielded by. When I talked about this subject, it came from me actually crying and having, some really, really just down moments about what was happening in the news with young black men being gunned down and dying on camera, I mean, it really came from a traumatic place, but for me to make it, I could have made it a drama. I could have made it any kind of thing that I wanted it, but I wanted comedy. And just based off of my top 5 comedians, you can tell what my comedy tastes are.
Yeah.
So I try to infuse it into the story, and at the end of the story, we can laugh together, and we can have discussions together, and possibly heal some things. And if not, at least we're talking about it in a healthy way.
Kevin, listen, man, you said a mouthful there, and I think that's really where the power in all of this is again, adding that humor makes things more palatable, but it also allows conversations to be had. And I think that's the most important thing as a society, for whatever reason. And maybe it's always been like this, and as I get older, I'm just more aware of it. But it appears that as a society, we are more divided than ever before, and people are no longer conversing. Like, we're not even open to having the discussions anymore. And I think that's a dangerous place for us to be. People, I don't care about your political standpoint. Well, I mean, obviously I care about it, but at the end of the day, your opinion and your beliefs are your opinion and your beliefs. So I'm not here to necessarily try to change that, but I do think that we can have a cordial, respectful, and engaging conversation, and books of this matter are really going to help approach that and begin those conversations. And this is why I'm telling you, you got to head on over to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kevin E. Allison Books, MyLifeMatters.com, as well as KevinEAllisonBooks.com. My Life Matters is a novel that needs to be on your shelf because it's much more than an entertaining read. Now, don't get me wrong. It is absolutely an entertaining read, but it's going to offer a lot of wisdom. And like I mentioned, man, he has a lot of other things in store. You got to check into what this man is doing. You know, my follow-up question now, Kev, as we start to close out of this book, because there is another one of your books that I really want to touch up on before we go. But I want to talk about the role of forgiveness and how that plays a part in all of this. Now, without giving too much away to the storyline itself, talk to us about how the novel explores the idea of forgiveness, either for, the characters themselves, or how the novel can cause us to look within our own circumstances and forgive maybe some others that have wronged us, or, maybe were prejudiced against us. Talk to us a little bit more about that.
Forgiveness is so critical to just our development as human beings. It's the most critical element of humanity. How can you say you're human, or you're a person who has love for others without forgiving, without the element of forgiveness?
Yeah.
And then also, not to be able to forgive is harmful. I mean, it really corrodes us on the inside, It releases all kind of hormones that really attack our own bodies, and create other types of things. And this is scientific fact. This is not me just being exoteric or anything like that. It's more of a scientific truth about our bodies. It's like, if we don't forgive, we become sick. We start to deteriorate on the inside. So when we let that weight off of our shoulders, we begin to heal and we feel lighter. And then that's something that's going around now in the zeitgeist that people say often, living rent-free in someone's head, having things that stick with you and bother you. When the option is yours, you can evict that feeling and that emotion. You don't have to have someone living rent-free. But it seems as if everyone has something living rent-free in them about this thing called race. Something as thin as the epidermis of your skin can make a huge difference on how people treat you, So, yeah, we have to have forgiveness. That has to be a major thing in our lives. And here in America, we have to have it as well. So it plays out in the story, and I think it's an important element.
Kevin, as we close out of here, man, this is something that I think hits close to home, especially for a lot of individuals. And I think this other book that I want to touch up on, man, is remarkable that you are writing about it. But also, as I mentioned before, man, I think as an African-American male myself growing up in this country, there are certain stories, certain histories of, in particular, African Americans that are always hitting close to home, and something that I'm always proud of. And I'd love to take the opportunity to showcase. You have a book that's still in creation. That one's called Allensworth. Now, it showcases a remarkable figure in American history, a gentleman who was born into slavery and ended up working up to not only founding, but financing and even governing a town here in California. Tell us a little bit more about that novel, Allensworth, and the historical context behind it, and also the narrative that you're developing through it.
Oh, man. So, yeah, that was one of my passion pieces right there, man. Just discovering who this man was something that I would say was serendipitous, because I kind of happened into a state park that was named Allensworth. And it reminds me of Little House on the Prairie. Mm-hmm. But you go through this town and it's still open. You can go there as a park. And you see the churches, you see the blacksmiths, barns, and just all kinds of, the whole town is still there and pristine, and just like people just packed up and left yesterday. So they have the church, what else? The schools, and just businesses. It was a thriving community. And to discover that this guy named Allensworth was the one who founded it just made me go down the rabbit hole. So I discovered who he was. He was born a slave, and his whole mission, from being a child to a dying adult, or when he passed, was just to learn how to read. Education. That was the whole theme of his life. I mean, he suffered so much just learning how to read. Yeah. And some of the things he went through just to get a book and learn how to read, and a lot of the repercussions that he would suffer as a result of that. But still, nonetheless, he kept going, allowed me to see that education is so important. Being able to read is so important. And I think it's neglected so much by our youth today, where you could put something in a book and it probably won't be found. But this man gave his life up and suffered tremendously just for that. Now, the story has a lot of factual elements in it, but I also embellish some things with a character by the name of Ruth, who happens to come back to this town, and some crazy things happen in the town. But while those things are happening, I'm still sharing the life of Allensworth and some of the incredible things he did from a child on up to being an adult to passing away. One of the highlights I will mention about him in his life is he was one of the first winners of the Kentucky Derby. He was a Kentucky Derby jockey. So
that's incredible.
So, I mean, that blew me away. I mean, the fact that he won that, and the first colonel in the Army, and a man of God, a man of faith. You got to check that book out. I would like to come and debut it on this show once we release it.
Listen, man, we would love to have you back here to discuss it. A true man, I'm just gonna throw myself under the bus here. When Kevin and I were talking, this was a gentleman I was not aware of. I had not heard of him prior to it, but rest assured, the moment he mentioned it, man, I had my researcher here in studio pull up some information and put it on the screen for me, because this was something worth noting. And I knew right from the very beginning that that's the way I wanted to close out of this show, because this individual, man, a true testament to the resilience and the ambition of African Americans in the face of adversity. And that's just one example, because there are a lot of them that we can pull from, and that will be for another discussion. But one that I would have been doing a severe disservice if we didn't mention it. People, the list goes on and on. Remember the name Kevin E. Allison, because this man has accomplished so much. My Life Matters was the book that we started off and really was the anchor for the interview. But trust me, man, he's got a lot in store. All right, there's Gladiator Bots. That's a trilogy. One is available now. That's the graphic novel, but there's two others still in creation. We got Allensworth, which we just discussed, also still in creation. Check out his film Love Swag. That's available now on all streaming platforms. Man, it's Amazon, it's Barnes & Noble, it's Kevin E. Allison Books, mylifematters.com. head on over there and see why I say all of those things, because I truly mean it. A wonderfully impressive individual, man, and it's been a delight and a true honor to sit here and to talk to you. Kevin, keep up the fantastic work, and thank you once again for being a guest on People of Distinction.
My pleasure, Benji. My pleasure.